Hello, everybody, it's me again, Chariots. I decided to go back to my roots for this episode and do an actual deck tech like I talked about in my previous video, so I decided to do a deck tech on Magic instead, because I just started playing this. I didn't just start playing. It's been like 2 years since I started playing this game. Wow, that's actually been a lot longer than I thought it was. A group of friends who I worked security with invited me to play like 2 years ago, and I've been playing on and off ever since. And so I decided to do a deck tech on what has been my favorite deck, Halana and Alena partners. It's such a good deck. I really like the deck. It wasn't the first deck I ever started with. My first deck was actually Anya Falconwrath. It was a precon, and I just sort of went from there, and vampires had been my thing, and then she came out, and I was just like, oh my god, her. I don't know how to make this deck work, but I will make this deck work. And so this is the deck. It's not the best deck, probably, but it actually works. It's one of my better decks, I would say. I mean, I've got a few other decks that are on par with it as well, but just me personally, I think it's one of my favorites, so we're going to go with it. So, Halana and Alena, she came out in Crimson Vow. She has First Strike and Reach. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is Halana and Alena's power, and that creature gains haste until end of turn. Also, I apologize for the shitty lighting and the shitty camera. I'm just using my phone here because I don't really have a camera to record some shit. So we're going to work with her making other creatures become feckin' strong as shit because of her. Also, I should mention the group I play with, we don't play with commander damage, that bullshit garbage rule that basically lets you win right away. Games would be a lot quicker if we played with that rule, so we don't do that. So this deck isn't going to be as focused on getting her to stay strong, whereas it's just boosts the power to get other creatures strong. You'll see how it is. So the first creature, we're going to start with our greens here, is Halana, Kessig Ranger. Wouldn't be a Halana and Alena deck if I didn't run both Halana and Alena. She is a 3/4. She costs 3 and a green. She has Reach. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under my control, I may pay 2, and when I do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. And she has partner, of course, so you could have Halana and Alena, the singles, but they weren't ever as good. I tried to make a deck before Halana and Alena partners came out, but it was not that fucking good. With just the partner, because that mechanic kind of sucks. She's pretty good, just to destroy things, basically, is why she's there. Speaking of destroying things, I need to put it closer. Rawness the Indomitable, he's a 2 and a green, he's a 5/5. He has Death Touch and Indestructible. He cannot attack or block unless I control another creature with power 4 or greater, which is pretty easy with this deck. I pay 2 and a green, and then another target creature gains 2 and 0 and gains trample until end of turn. Trample is a big thing in this deck. A lot of my shit gains trample, just to like blast through creatures and you have a 20/20 on the field. Yeah, this guy has trample, and it's a 30/30 now. So enjoy that. I run Pride Malkin. It's a 2 and a green. It's a 2/1. And when it enters the battlefield, I can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature I control, and each creature I control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. With, again, Halana and Alena gives a lot of +1/+1s. It's pretty good, I would say. Then I have Neolith, the Dire Hunt. She is a 2 and 2 green, a 3/3. I think it's a she. That's a she, right? Yeah, it's probably a she. Whenever one or more creatures I control fight or become blocked, I can draw a card. And at the beginning of combat on my turn, I may pay 2 and a green or red. And if I do, I can double target creature's power until end of turn, and that creature must be blocked this combat if able. It's really good, especially with Halana and Alena, just boosting the shit out of a creature. And then it's forced to block. Really like that ability. And speaking of cats, I guess that was a wolf. Keeper of Fables, he's a 3 and 2 green. Whenever one or more non-human creatures I control deal combat damage to a player, I can draw a card. It's just good for draw, and it's a 4/5, not bad, and get pretty strong. 2 green, Sir Friend the Hedge Hammer. Whenever he attacks, another target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is his power. So, you know, Halana and Alena gives him 4. He's a 6. And then he gains haste, so he can attack that turn. He swings for 6, and another target creature gets +6, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. Speaking of pretty nice, another one that costs 2, Werewolf Pack Leader is a 3/3. Whenever Werewolf Pack Leader attacks, if I attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, I can draw a card. Pretty dang feckin' good. If I do say so myself, it's pretty easy to draw 6 or more. And I can pay 3 and a green until end of turn. This card has a base power and toughness 5/3 and gains trample, and it is not human. Very good. Very much like that guy. Our final green is Chameleon Colossus, Changeling, protection from black. 2 and 2 green. It gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. Again, with Halana and Alena, it's very strong. Very, very strong. Onto our small bit of reds, Alena, Kissig Trapper. Again, of course I run both. There's a little schmutz there. First strike, I can tap her and add an amount of red equal to the greatest power among creatures I control that enter the battlefield this turn. It's pretty good most of the time. Sometimes it's not so much. I don't get to use her as often. But, you know, you use Halana, you bring out this bad bitch, and then you can pay 4. It's supposed to be during their main phase 2 anyway. Say she gains 6 because of Halana. Then that's a 10. I can add 10 red mana. Because I'm pretty sure that's how that works anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but it's how I've been doing it. So, probably one of the best reds. Rogoth, son of... I don't know how you even say that. Roga. It's a 0. It's a 0/1. It has first strike, menace, and trample. You know, just 3 pretty good things, and he can get some pretty high attack, and the defense goes up. So, and he's a freebie just to throw on the field. Another pretty good guy is Arnie Broken Bow. He has 2 and a red. He's a 3/3. He has haste. He has a boast 1. I can change his base power to 1 plus the greatest power among other creatures I control until end of turn. Again, it's just another creature that costs pretty cheap and can get fucking strong as shit with Halana and Alena on the field. Goblin Raise Runners, it's a 2 and 2 red. Pay a red and 1 other and sacrifice a land. I can put a +1/+1 counter, which I don't really use that. At the beginning of my end step, I can have Goblin Raise Runners deal damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it to target player or planeswalker. Good way to just destroy planeswalkers, do some burn damage, just wipe out your opponent. And now we're going to do all our multicolors, which there's a lot, which is actually an important aspect of this deck, is having a lot of both colors, and I'll show you why in a little bit. This is a Gomos. I don't know how to say the names, half of these names. It's a 3, 2 red, 2 green. It's a 6/7. It has trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, I can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature I control. You want those +1/+1 counters. Really, really good. A little bit of... I don't know what that is. Rada, Heart of Keld. I have a couple of her in this deck. As she costs 1 red and green, and she's a 3/3. As long as it's your turn, she has first strike, and I can look at the top of my library at any time and play lands from the top of my library, which is mainly what I use her for. And then the 4 red green, she gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands I control. That one, not so much. I don't really get to use that effect, because 6, you usually have better things to cast for 6, like, you know, Borbogoimos, whatever the fuck. Rada, Hair to Keld. God, she looks a lot different. Like, she's skinny, dummy thick in this one. I don't know. Whenever she attacks, I can add 2 red. I can tap her to add a green. Just more mana, which is pretty good. Savage Ventmaw, 4 and red and green. It has flying. It's a 4/4. Whenever it attacks, I can add 3 red and 3 green until end of turn. I don't lose this mana as steps in phase's end. Again, more mana, real good to, you know, cast lots of different stuff. Grand Warlord Rada. I thought I put all my Radas together. Apparently not. She has haste. Whenever one or more creatures I control attack, I could add that much mana in any combination of red and or green until end of turn. This mana doesn't phase out. She costs 2 red, green, and she's a 3/4. Tainta the Bloodsower. Tana Mungu. She's a 2, a red and a green, 2/2 trample. She's really good. When she deals combat damage to a player, I can create that many 1/1 green sapling tokens. That trample really helps. You can spam a feckin' load of sapling tokens just as fodder. That's what I like. Those are my main things in Magic. I like is drawing lots of cards, spamming a fuck ton of tokens, and then just field wiping basically. Actually, I don't think I have too much field wiping in this deck because it's just so strong. Proud Wild Bonder, 2 and a red or green for the other 2. It's a 4/3. He has trample, and creatures I control with trample I may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it were not blocked. Very nice. Very, very nice. I like that ability a lot, actually. A red and a green, Scar Guild Mage, red and green. Creatures I control gain trample. I can pay a red and a green and one other, and target land becomes a 4/4 elemental until end of turn. Don't really use that one too much. It's mainly creatures I control gain trample. That's really good. I like getting trample to just have so much power and just destroy things. And then that way, if you want to play with commander attacks, your commander has trample. But commander attacks, we play with commander attacks. We just don't play with commander. The 21 damage from your commander ends the game. That way, we can really have games last. Dragonborn Champion. She's feckin' awesome. She's so good. 2, a red and a green. She's a 5/3. Really nice stats. She has trample. Whenever a source I control deals 5 or more damage to a player, I can draw a card. I like that drawing ability. That's my favorite thing in decks. It's just drawing cards. It's so good. Sunder Shaman. 2 red, 2 green. She's a 5/5. Whenever he cannot be blocked by more than one creature. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, I can destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Just some artifact and enchantment destruction. I don't think I have too much of that. I think I'm experimenting. I do have a couple cards on the side. I'll look at it in a minute. Toya Bearclaw, red, green, and one other. Whenever she attacks, she gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other creatures I control. So with Halana and Alena, I have a lot of creatures that basically do that, where they or another creature gains power equal to the highest power of creatures I control. So I can just put that onto Halana and Alena, and just for her to be more powerful if you really want to do the commander attacks, or the, what would you call it? Commander damage. Rubber Belt Rioters, a 1 in red and green. It's a 0/4. She has haste. Whenever she attacks, she gets +X and 0, where X is the greatest power among creatures I control. She's pretty good. A lot of the creatures, like I just said, and have that ability. Quartzwood Crasher, 2 red and a green. It's a 6/6, has trample. Whenever one or more creatures I control with trample deal combat damage to a player, I can create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. Again, that's pretty dang good, just because I can, and I get to keep the creature, so it's just more fodder for blocking shit, and it can be pretty powerful, and as a vanilla, I guess it would be. I have a lot of creatures in this deck. I like decks with a lot of creatures, so I end up... This is the last creature, actually. Targnar Demon Fang Knoll, a red and a green. It's a 2/2. It has Pack Tactics. Whenever Targnar Demon Fang Knoll attacks, if you attack with creatures with total 6 or greater this combat, attack creatures again an additional 1/0 until end of turn. I can pay 2 red and a green and double his power and toughness until end of turn, which, can be pretty good if he's, already a 5/5 with Halana and Alena. So that's the end of the creatures. I have 2 Planeswalkers. I mean, there's probably other ones that I could use, but Jessica Thrice Reborn, she's a 2 and a 0. She's a 2 and a red, and she has 0. She enters the battlefield with a loyalty counter on it for each time I've cast a commander from the command zone this game. I mainly have her for her first effect of 0 to choose a target creature until end of my next turn. If that creature would deal combat damage to one of my player opponents, it would deal triple that amount of damage to that player instead. So if I'm swinging with my commander, I've lost her. I have lost my commander. Did I stack her in the stack? No, I did not. Oh, she's over. No, I did not. Wow, I've lost my commander somehow. My empty-ass desk, I have somehow lost my commander. I'll find her. But the point is, if I'm swinging with this dude and he's a 5, and he deals 5 damage, I can pay that 0, and then, 15 damage instead. Really feckin' good. I don't know why I'm explaining this basic shit. Minus X, she deals X damage to each of up to 3 other targets. She can also be your commander, and she has partner. Yeah, it's mainly that first effect. That first effect is fucking awesome. And my other other Planeswalker is Damari Raid. It's a 1, a red, and a green. It's a 3. Its +1 is I can look at the top card of my library. If it is a creature, I can reveal it and put it in my hand. I can pay 2, and target creature I control fights another target creature, which is I like that a lot to be able to just target things. And then -7, I can get an emblem with creatures I control have double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste. I power for that one. That one is so good. It's just so much shit. 4 turns. If you can keep him for 4 turns, I mean, you're pretty dang set with your creatures and shit. So now we're gonna go to our instance. Solidarity of Heroes. It's a green and a 1 other. It costs 1 in green more to cast for each target beyond the first, and I can just double any number of +1/+1 counters on X amount of creatures that I cast this on. Pretty dang good, especially if Halana and Alena gets +1/+1s, even if they're temporarily, like they would be removed at the end of turn, I can just double the +1/+1 counters on her, and then she just has that many +1/+1s. 1 in green, target creature gets +4/+4. It's very obvious. Titanic Growth. Witch's Web, 1 in a green, target creature gets 3/3 and reach until end of turn, and it gets untapped. Then I have Struggle to Survive, 2 in a red, deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands, or its aftermath. Each player shuffles their graveyard into the library. It's pretty good for just overall shuffling my shit, halfway through the game. That way I can't be decked out. Might of the Old Ways, 1 in a green. Target creature gets 2/2 until end of turn. Then if I control 3 or more creatures with different powers, I can draw a card. I just like drawing cards. It's very much like that. Pay a red. I have a lot of ones like this where it's just 1 mana and it gets 3/2 until end of turn. Doesn't really do anything. It's just boosts a creature until end of turn. Lunar Frenzy. Target creature I control gets X0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. So red and however many else I want to pay. This one is a literal game winner. Fling. Red and 1 other. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, and deal damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to any target. I've wiped opponents with Fling. I've just sacked my commander and did 10 to 15 damage per game. It's fucking awesome. Brute Force, pay a red. Target creature gets 3/3 until end of turn. X, 2 red and a green. Choose 1. If I control my commander, I can choose both. It deals X damage to each creature without flying. Destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. Just mainly for the artifacts and enchantments. Hull Breach, red and a green. Destroy target artifact or destroy target enchantment or destroy target artifact and enchantment. Just more fodder for that. I have a board wipe here. Blasphemous Act. It's 8 and a red. It costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, and it deals 13 damage to each creature. There's some times where I've lost creatures, but kept some others, and then completely board wiped the opponent just by casting that. So, very nice. What is this one? Fido Burst. Target creature gets 5/5 until end of turn. It's a 1 and a green. Then I have Clan Defense. Choose 1 or more. Clan Defense deals X damage to target creature with flying, deals X damage to target creature without flying, and or Clan Defense deals X damage to target player. Pretty good. Just more damage, destruction. Primal Might. Target creature I control gets +X/+X until end of turn. Then it fights up to 1 target creature I do not control. For green and however many else, it's pretty good. I like to have a lot of low cast stuff, so that way I have lots of mana. I can cast a lot of shit. But a downfall is if once my hand gets wiped out and then they wipe my field, it's pretty hard to come back from that. X and red. Fireball deals X damage divided evenly, rounded down among any number of target creatures and or players. Pay an additional 1 for each target beyond the first. Just good for group play to just burn shit. Savage Twister, X, a red and a green. Deals X damage to each creature. Just for more board wiping. If I have no other options. Exponential Growth, 2X and 2 green until end of turn. Double target creature's power X times. It's really good to put on Halana and Alena and then just destroy and make other creatures very powerful. Last sorcery here. Barrage of Boulders, 2 and a red. Deals 1 damage to each creature I don't control. If I control a creature with power 4 or greater, creatures cannot block this turn. I like that part a lot. You can really do some damage with that. Onto the artifacts. Rona's Monument costs 3. Green creature spells cost 1 less to cast, which is one of the reasons why so many of my creatures have green in it, is they just are cheaper to cast. And whenever I cast a creature spell, target creature I control gets 2/2 and gains trample until end of turn. So, just more good positive shit. 2 of any. Rogue's Gloves. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to the player, I can draw a card. Again, card draw. I like that a lot. Kusari Gema. Equipped creature has 2. This creature gains 1/0 until end of turn. Whenever a equipped creature deals damage to a blocking creature, it deals that much damage to each other creature defending player controls. It's that end part that I use, not so much the first one. It's that second part. I should actually get a copy of that and put it in my night deck, my equipment deck. That would be good. Barbed Battle Gear, 3 of any. Equipped creature gets +4/-1. Just for more, making my commander, for say, more powerful. Of course, you got Arcane Signet to add a mana of any color. Then you have Bow of Neela for attacking creatures I control get Death Touch. Very much like that. Green and 1 other. Choose 1, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Bow of Neela deals 2 damage to target creature with flying, gain 3 life, or put up to 4 cards from my graveyard on the bottom of my library in any order. I apparently cannot talk this morning. Bone Splitter. Equipped creature gets 2/0. It's just a very cheap, attack gain. Life Crafter's Beastery. Another reason why I have a lot of creatures with green in them. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever I cast a creature spell, I can pay a green and draw a card. Plus, if I have a lot of green, then a lot of my mana is going to be green. So I have a higher chance of being able to pay a green to draw that card. Of course, then you have your Soul Ring. I don't know why that wasn't with the Arcane Signet. And then I have Belt of Giant Strength, 1 in the green. Equipped creature has a base power and toughness 10/10. Equipped 10, this ability costs X less to activate, where X is the power of the creature it targets. So, Halana and Alena can be pretty strong, and then it just straight up can equip for free sometimes, as I've had it. And of course, you gotta have Classification, 5 and 2 green. Whenever tap enchanted creature, unfortunately, but enchanted creature gets +20/+20, so very strong, especially on Halana and Alena, who doesn't typically attack red in the first place, in fear of her being destroyed by attacking. Then you got Hydra's Growth, of course, 2 green and 2 others. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature. At the beginning of my upkeep, I can double the number of +1/+1 counters on the enchanted creature. Typically put her on Halana and Alena, just so she can get more powerful. Beastmaster's Ascension, 2 and a green. Whenever a creature I control attacks, I can put a quest counter on Beastmaster's Ascension. As long as Beastmaster's Ascension has 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures I control get +5/+5. Pretty good. Then I got Garruk's Uprising, of course, 2 and a green. Enters the battlefield, I can draw a card if I control a creature with power 4 or greater. Creatures I control gain trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under my control, I can draw a card. Which a fair amount of my creatures do have 4 or more power, so. This was a big reason of why I built a deck, because I've always wanted to run this card in a deck. 2 green. Green creatures I control get a +1/+1. Whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under my control, scry 1. So this is another reason why a lot of my creatures have green in them. And then I also have Nature's Embrace, a green and 2 others. Enchant creature or land. As long as it's enchanted permanent as a creature, it gets +2/+2. And if it's a land, it gives me 2 mana of any one color. So it gives me an additional mana, I guess. I mainly use it for the +2/+2, obviously. Ordeal of Neela, 1 and a green. Enchant creature, whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then if it has 3 or more +1/+1s on it, sacrifice Ordeal of Neela, which kind of sucks. But whenever I sacrifice this card, search my library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them in the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle my library. More mana searching, of course. Giant Spectacle, a red and 1 other enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets 2/1 and has Menace. The Menace is really good on Halana and Alena. Just so that way she's just harder to block. Rancor, It's a green. Enchanted creature gets 2/0 and has trample. When it's put into a graveyard from battlefield, return it to my hand. Really nice. I like that. Creatures, I'm basically guaranteed to be able to cast that constantly. Then for the lands, we have Myriad Landscape. Of course, when it enters battlefield tapped, add a colorless, pay 2, sacrifice it, get 2 basic lands, share land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped. Then, of course, I have Temple of the False God for 2 colorless mana. Then I have both of these, the green and red counterparts. Mosswort Bridge and Spine Rock Knoll. They both have Hideaway. I can tap for a green. I can pay a green. I can. So basically, whenever this land enters the battlefield, enters tapped, and look at the top 4 cards in my library, exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom of my library. And then I can pay a red or a green. For the green, I can play that exiled card without paying its mana cost if creatures I control have a total power of 10 or greater. And for the red, I can pay a red, and I can play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if an opponent was dealt 7 or more damage this turn. I think it's just an interesting mechanic, and they both work well together in this deck. This card should actually be Command Tower, but I just when I was going through this deck and make sure everything was right as rain, I do not have a Command Tower in this deck, so this should be a Command Tower. So pretend it's Command Tower and not actually Path of Ancestry. And of course, you have your dual lands. I probably should have sorted these a little more for the dual lands. I always try to have dual lands that actually give me something rather than just entering tapped. So this one gives me 2, but I have to return a land to my hand. This one enters untapped as long as I control a mountain or a forest. This one lets me scry 1. This one lets me gain a life. This one enters untapped unless I control 2 or more basic lands. And this one lets me gain a life. Wait, do I have 2 of this one? I don't have 2 of Candor. No, I don't. Okay, there's just multiple ones that let me, gain a life. Okay. And then for some other weird sort of ones, I have Naya Panorama. I don't know why I couldn't read that for a second. It gives me a colorless. I can pay it to sacrifice it to search my library for a mountain or a forest or a plains. Obviously, I'm not searching for plains. Then I have Opal Palace. Lets me add 1 mana of any color to my commander color's identity. If I spend this mana to cast my commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the number of times it has been cast from the command zone this game. It just helps to make her more worth her while when she's being recast. And then Castle Garenbrig enters battlefield tapped unless I control a forest. I can add a green. I can pay 2 and 2 green and add 6 green. So I get 2 extra green basically. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. And then for the basic lands, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 green and 10 mountains. And that's the whole deck, basically. Pretty dang much. I guess I do have these 2 that are kind of on my sideboard. Utopia Sprawl, costs a green. Enchant Forest. Choose a color. Whenever that forest is tapped for its mana, I get to add a mana of the chosen color as well. And then Destructive Rivalry. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, and it deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Mainly these are sided because I had them extra, and I had these extra red sleeves, so I was like, hey, I'll side these. I don't usually side things, but I think they're pretty dang good for the sideboard. And that's the whole deck. Only took me half an hour to go through it in comparison to, Magic. Magic is just so much more than Yu-Gi-Oh! I wanted to do a deck tech since I had done deck techs initially, way back when. I still have those videos on my channel from feckin' 10 years ago. Back when I was just showing off decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the game I played. There's Halana and Alena. Didn't really play other card games. A little bit of Pokemon, but it wasn't too big. And then I just started playing Magic, and so much. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what other decks I should do or games I should play. Again, that video that I was talking about that I was working on, I went through the script. edited things down because things are different now that it's been 6-7 months since I wrote the dang script, so things are different now. Yeah, that video should be it's just trimming out my fuck ups in the audio and then patching together the clips and some memes and then giving it the once over, and it should be good. So hopefully today's Monday, it should be done by Sunday, hopefully. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.